adversity, bring it. The struggle, I welcome it. Snooze on life, never that. I am Dave Regina, and this is the No Snooze Podcast. Come on.
Am I on? I've been practicing. Welcome back, No Snooze Podcast, episode 186. We have Sean the Animal Degnan in the booth, Claudio the Voice Valenzuela, and I am Dave the Body Regina.
Let's go, baby. Is that actually right? Are we episode 186?
I have no idea.
Welcome back, No Snooze Podcast, episode 187. As always, I'm in the booth with a phenomenal three. We have Sean, the Animal, Degnan, Claudio, the Voice, Valenzuela, and I am Dave, the Body, Regina. So Sean Degnan gave us a great blooper prior to starting this episode where he opened up. You guys know all about Sean Degnan. Sean Degnan is no stranger to the No Snooze crew, to our platform. Sean and I did an episode, which was episode 156, which was the very first podcast episode that we did after my co-host, Mike Pirelli, left. And I think that's very symbolic because I feel like our whole relationship has been symbolic, man. Sean is a man of high class, high character. He's become one of my best friends. I'm extremely grateful to build this relationship. I'm extremely grateful to build these businesses that we're working on. It's been a relationship full of action, full of impact, and I'm excited for this, my brother. Thank you.
Different energy today, baby. Different energy today than 156.
Yes, sir.
Feeling good, man. I'm ready to dive in. It's cool to see just like how far we've come in such a short period of time. Mm-hmm. The three of us, Steph, the whole A.C.E squad. It's crazy when like yesterday I was with Vinny Brusco and I was like, yeah, me and Dave met in July. I'm like, we met 8 months ago. Yeah. And like, look at what has happened. It feels like 8 years.
It's crazy. But again, from that, I think we touched on it last episode, but that was at a networking event that, Tony Peck held. I'm sure we'll go and attend this year too. Shout out to Tony Peck. But, we basically looked at one another and we're like, yeah, we got to do something. Yeah. And then from there, we did the podcast and followed up. Side note, happy day 100 into not drinking, my brother, right? Sean and I set a, we basically started with dry January, right? And I think the more and more people that we talk to that are especially in this space and really just want to live in alignment, the commonality there is that they're not drinking. Yeah. And I know, just from our past, we have similar paths and we can go down a path of, we're enjoying drinking a little bit too much. So it's already 100 days in. To anybody who is, thinking about quitting drinking, whether you want to do it just for 30 days or for the rest of your life, that part really doesn't matter. But we're using an app called Quit Drinking, and it's a very simple app. It gives you a little mission statement. You can set a dollar amount on the money that you think you would have been spending weekly on alcohol. I put I think $50.
That was the max, and I think that was a little off because a couple of nights when I've been out in the city and stuff, it's a lot more. That's one round.
Yeah, absolutely. But a lot of people have been asking, what app is that? And it gives you a nice little synopsis of where you're at. And every day it goes, man. And CV and I, we talk a lot in terms of, just growth and wanting to be better. And I remember back in November when I was like, listen, man, I want to stop drinking. And here we are sitting down and it's already 100 days in.
100 days, man.
What are you feeling?
I feel stronger. I feel like my biceps are growing, like CV said. No, I'm feeling good, dude. And it's so weird because I think the first 30 days or so, it was kind of a struggle and I was like having those cravings and stuff. But now I'm at the point where we had Athletic Brewing that sponsored the A.C.E Summit, which was sick. And that's a non-alcoholic beer and they were delicious. We were basically just living. The whole summit was off of black coffee and Athletic Brew and water. Yes. And that's kind of like where I'm at right now. Like whenever I have a craving or something, I've had like a couple of non-alcoholic beers here and there, you know, but the cravings are kind of gone at this point.
And I think that's the piece where real alignment comes into play because, you know, you and I are both men of faith. And we take that very seriously. And I think when you're genuine in your approach and you really ask for guidance and wisdom from above, I think that higher power meets you halfway. And I think because we both, have openly discussed that we want this and it's genuine to our hearts, I think that higher power has kind of gotten the path. Let's start with ACE, man. I want to go everything ACE. What exactly is ACE? And we'll start with you, right? Action Cultivates Excellence. If you have not been around, or maybe this is your first time stumbling on the No Snooze podcast, is basically a platform that we have now created, which is a movement redefining masculinity, where we've decided to normalize strength in vulnerability. I could tell you for myself, ACE is something that Dave Regina needed badly years ago. And I think that's why it works. But I really want to give you an opportunity, Sean, to speak on ACE and kind of what it means.
Yeah, I think it's something that I still need now for myself.
Absolutely.
And it's something that I think that the two of us have found so much fulfillment in, and just kind of growing. And as we discuss this with our groups, every event that we have, we always touch back on the intention piece. And our intention really is to set that platform, the foundation for whoever's at these events, at the summit, things like that, to grow and experience change and, dive into vulnerability and all that stuff. So I've found ACE to be the most fulfilling thing in my life right now, and I've never felt a fire lit up under my ass the way I do now. And it's something that we put out there on this podcast. It was the beginning of October, I think we filmed, of 2023, and here we are a couple months later. This thing has blown up. I mean, we just did our last workout event with Lululemon. We've got different brands reaching out to us, different companies that want to partner with us, gyms, things like that. So we're in a unique place where we seeked alignment. We were seeking something that was bigger and beyond, I think, what we've done thus far in our professional careers. And it's something that has truly impacted so many people in such a short period of time.
I think I want to highlight something that you said, because you said that, this is something that you still need. I know that I can't go a day without living this lifestyle, because this is I think what's the addictive piece of like personal and professional development. The moment you stop working on yourself, that's really when you start to die. And the beauty about ACE, and the beauty about anything, if you want to start a business, if you want to start any sort of company, any sort of movement, any organization, whatever it is, you don't need to be on the complete other side, right? You don't just need to give back to teach people. We're creating a platform because it's exactly what we need currently in our lives. Yes, we might be a little bit further along the journey than somebody else, but the reality is we have so much longer to go. And I think that's a big misconception of mine, that in the past I used to believe, to start something, you have to be already on the other side of it. Does that make sense?
100%. And I think even when we were at the summit and just explaining everything to our group of guys, it's like, we're not sitting here from some podium telling you, do this, do that, and you're going to get better. We're doing it with you. This is stuff that we need ourselves. And it's stuff that, like you said, like it's something that I can't remember what the quote is, but it's like you become the teacher that you needed, or something like that.
Yes. You become most qualified to help the person that you used to be.
Yeah. And that's really what I feel with ACE, because I've needed it so much in my life. I've been a personal development just junkie over the last 5-6 years. And you and I both, this podcast, I've done speaking engagements since 2018, and these networking dinners, things like that. We've done a lot of stuff without really looking to monetize and profit and whatever. And ACE didn't start that way. This started with, let's impact people and let's create change. But I think when you start with that foot forward, rather than let's turn a profit on this, that's when the real money comes, and the real opportunities and growth and impact really happens, is when you put that other foot forward, not the, give me money now type thing.
Right. And full transparency, Sean and I talk all the time. And obviously, as we were mapping out what ACE really meant, we basically sat down and said, okay, what is it? Where are we at our best every single day? And 3 things kind of came to mind. We're at our best when we challenge ourselves physically. We're at our best when we learn something every day. and we're at our best when we're of service. So you have challenge, learn, and serve. So we were like, okay, you know what? Let's take that formula and put that into the summit. So challenge became ORTs, outdoor resilience training, where we get together as men, and that's the savagery stuff that you see. Might jump in a cold, well, very cold,
Freezing.
ice, if you will.
Yeah.
Lake, river, cold plunge. But you're doing it with a group of guys who also want to be there too. You're cutting down trees, you're working out in the snow. So that's that ORT piece. You have learn, which would be our ELTs, which are expert-led training. We had Joe Girardi come, we had Diamandi Alingos, we had Christian Palmer, we had the Woke Widow and Jean Gutierrez come. Who else am I missing? Vincent Maselli, of course, where we bring in experts to actually teach so we can all learn from them. And then the final thing is serve. And we came up with what's called VBD, Vulnerability, Breakthrough, Development. That's where we're redefining masculinity. We're getting together as men and we're sharing the vulnerable stuff in our lives that you're probably not comfortable doing in an open forum. But with that group of guys, that's where I think the most impact came. And I just want to bring light to obviously the thought process of how we created those 3 pillars of ACE.
Yeah, VBDs was the most just earth-shattering shit ever that went down. I think anyone in those rooms really was just blown away just by the stuff that was being talked about. There was a lot of things that I think came up for people that they weren't expecting to come up, and that was because we set a platform and a foundation of it's a safe space. You can talk here, you can trust us, and you can trust each other. And I think there's something to say about like, you know, I always talk about like, if someone's crazy, I trust you because like I'm tapped in my head, you know, like I'm a nut. So like the crazy people I trust. It's something similar of like when you get vulnerable with other people and you're able to put your heart out there first, people feel that they really see true colors there and they're able to share and express things themselves.
And I want to also talk about the power of networking because that's exactly how Sean and I connected. You hear it all the time and you have networking events and this and that, but it really can't be anything until you become intentional and want to build something out. But this entire summit was a product of networking and connections, right? Steph Madonia happened to reach out because she listened to our podcast. And I think we put up you actually, right?
Instagram story.
Go
Yeah.
ahead. Tell us
Yeah.
story.
So we shot our podcast and we basically, as soon as we left that podcast, which is crazy looking back on the episode, because like action comes up, you know, cultivating excellence, all this stuff kept coming up like different times throughout the episode.
Yep.
And a month or 2 later, we go out, we find this space in New Paltz. Well, I guess we put something out first on Instagram.
Yes. And then
Basically,
Steph DM'd us.
Yeah, and then she DM'd us and she was like, I have this space up in New Paltz. You know, you guys should really check it out. And we didn't know Steph at all. And she's like our sister now, you know? So we go up there, we check out the space, and we're like, holy crap, like this is elite gold here, you know? And we're walking into like the gates of heaven, it almost felt like.
Yep.
And we knew right then and there, that was actually your birthday.
Yes.
And everything was just in alignment. You know, we were in a crazy place in our life, and everything just felt right. So we shot a video, shouts to CV, coming out, you know, getting all the footage and everything. On that day, before we even locked the property down, we said, CV's got to come out. He's got to film this place because we're going to need this footage to actually promote the summit.
Yep.
And thank God we did, because if not, I mean, you would have had to make another trip to New Paltz and whatever. So we put that out there, and immediately just like tons of feedback from people like, yo, I'm interested. This is crazy.
And we had nothing really.
Nothing. We were just throwing shit in the air.
We had 2 big heads.
Yeah, big heads. So, you know, I think there's just something to say about like the pressure that you could put on yourself and putting things out into, you know, the world, whether it be on social media or, you know, even sharing something with a friend just to hold yourself accountable to that goal. There's a lot of power behind that. People always talk about peer pressure being a negative thing and pressure being a negative thing. But I think there's a flip side of that. If you put something positive out there that's going to push you towards something that's, you know, in alignment with where you want to go, that's actually a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and we had the perfect formula, because the first thing I think when you're building anything out is to really identify a team. And we were very fortunate, obviously, to, live in alignment like we are. I think the synergy between you and I, Sean, is something that's really unmatched. And then also the synergy between Claudio and I, and what we've built here with this No Snooze platform is also unmatched. He's one of my best friends, and he's also a business partner in really everything that I do. So we knew we needed a video guy. And it was like, okay, boom, there's that connection. And then Steph Madonia comes on board, who really, that summit, does not happen without Stephanie Madonia. And I mean that sincerely from the bottom of my heart. And I know these two men feel the exact same way. But just the little things and the details. And Steph also has an events company.
Yeah.
Keep Becoming Events, I believe. And I mean, the hospitality, the way she treated the guests, she was willing to get her hands dirty, do any and everything, because this mission actually meant something to her. And I know that it means something to everybody involved. And I think that's a huge piece, because you can have all these great ideas, but until you assemble a core team, you really can't take any other steps forward.
Yeah. And full transparency, I mean, we were throwing like moon rocket goals out there, like financial things for ourselves, for Claudio, for Steph, and none of those things came true. We lost money, in full transparency. But I think you would say the same thing, is like, that was the most successful thing I've ever been a part of in my life. And you lost money doing it, which is mind blowing. It just like, on paper, that doesn't sound right. But if you were there and you were a part of what took place that weekend, you understand. And it's much bigger than just one weekend. And as we've seen over the last couple months, we've been able to expand just the redefining masculinity piece and open that door to women as well. And we've seen unbelievable change happen with some of these outdoor workouts and cold plunges, and people really just doing hard things together and building confidence in themselves, which is just, it's so cool to see.
Does ACE have a bigger meaning to you? I look at the timing of how it all started and then the passing of your father. And for me, I've told you this, but I truly feel that he's like a guiding force in ACE. And I know that he's obviously so proud and watching down on you, and just saying, damn, my son is a good man. That has to be an emotional thing for you, because it's emotional for me. How have you been dealing with that? Because I got to be honest with you, Sean, I think your father passed maybe 5 days. What day did he pass?
I think we went up to New Paltz October 26th.
That was my birthday.
Okay. And he went in the hospital on Halloween, October 31st, and he died November 1st.
I believe at that time, I didn't think we were going to have a summit. And I was okay with that, because I'm like, Sean's got to get through this. When I tell you, Sean texted me, I believe 2 days after, and said, I just want to let you know, I'm locked in, I'm all in. This is something that my dad would want me to do. And that was one of the most impactful moments for me, because I felt an extreme accountability. Now I'm like, I cannot let this motherfucker down. So what has, I guess, ACE meant to you in terms of the timing and the loss of your father?
It's obviously it's nothing you prepare for. I think that's part of the reason I feel like we've been so vulnerable and open about like our faith, especially within our group at the summit. I mean, faith and belief just was like an enormous topic of conversation all weekend. Part of that is just like the higher power just coming through all the time, man, since we started this thing. And it's like, there's undeniable things that have happened where it's like, this is beyond us. This is way bigger than something that we could have put into motion, into place. It's super emotional, dude. I mean, I think I talked about this with Vinny yesterday on his show. I was in a weird place in 2018 where I had lost some close people in my life, and I wasn't emotionally mature enough at that point. So I've done a lot of work since then on myself in regards to in death, grief, how I handle situations, and how I handle my internal emotions, really. if this happened in 2018, there would not have been a summit
Mhm.
with me, at least. You might have did one, but like I wouldn't have been a part of it because I wouldn't have been able to juggle all of it from where my head was at. I've done so much work on myself through the work that you and I are trying to instill in others that you've done yourself as well. Since those times in 2018, that it was just something that was a non-negotiable. Like the show has to go on. I know that my father is looking down on me. I mean, I get in my ice bath every morning. I say my 2 prayers in that 40-degree water, and I talk to him, and I'm like, "Thank you, Dad, like for being the father that you were to me, for building the man that I am." And I pray that you are with me every day because I'm looking to impact millions of lives.
Mm.
And I say that every morning. Help me impact millions of lives. And I believe that I'm going to do that, and you're going to do that through ACE.
I got the chills, my brother. I'm serious, and thank you for sharing that. But the genuineness too of all of this, I think, is where it's clear in ACE. Talk to somebody though who, because again, you always hear, okay, I work out hard because it prepares me for life moments. I get an ice bath because it prepares me for the adversity of life. You've now really been through that. Like you've been cold plunging and your father dies. Talk a little bit about that and how helpful it's either been or maybe it hasn't been. I don't know.
It's so Inky Johnson, who's one of my favorites, who we will share a stage with in the next couple of years, Dave and I. He talks a lot about when opposition and adversity strikes, you always revert back to your training and you have that default, whatever that is. My default has turned into being battle and war ready. I'm prepared for the effed up situation to come because inevitably, I can't speak, it will come. You're going to get stuff that's going to be a curveball, that's going to T-bone you on the side, it's going to smack you. You have no idea what happened. On October 30th, I was expecting to see my dad when I got back from LA. I was supposed to go to LA that night on Halloween. I was in JFK Terminal with Ramos, and we're literally 4 minutes away from boarding that plane. And my sister calls me and she's like, "Do not board the plane." And I didn't expect that phone call to come, but what happened? We did what we had to do. And, thank God I didn't get on that plane, but my training and all of the adversity that I put myself through daily, and same thing that you do and all the ACE guys are doing now, is when these things come, we revert back to, we're ready for this, and that's sometimes it's through the ice bath. Sometimes it's through a workout, chopping wood, carrying logs, crazy stuff. Having those vulnerable conversations is also preparation, for that emotional piece that's going to come. It's been instrumental to me, and I do fully believe that all of the work I've been doing on myself has prepared me to carry on in a positive manner since my father's died. I mean, I choose to remember the good things. I choose to honor him and, live the way he lived. So I think, what you and I are really trying to do through these outdoor resilience trainings, the vulnerability discussions, and also being humble enough to learn from others in the ELTs is stuff that's going to be the new default for ACE, the ACE community.
Mm. Are you looking to elevate your brand with captivating visuals and immersive sound? Look no further than the home of the No Snooze podcast, A.C.E Visions Productions, your go-to destination for cutting-edge audio and video production. At A.C.E Visions, we don't just create content, we create experiences that leave a lasting impact. From podcasts, YouTube variety shows, sleek corporate videos, to attention-grabbing promotional campaigns, our team of experts is dedicated to turning your vision into reality. Choose A.C.E Visions for a production experience like no other. It's time to make your brand known. Contact us today at kyevisions@gmail.com or find us on Instagram at A.C.E Visions. A.C.E Visions Productions, where audio-visual excellence meets innovation. Now, back to the epi. Make fun of me a little bit. So I don't get in an ice bath every day, but as you know, I take a cold shower daily. Do you think there's a humongous difference? And how soft am I for doing that? And would you encourage people to at least start there? So I'm now up to 3 minutes. I started with 1 minute, and I've done that, consistently for some years now. But now I'm up to 3 minutes, and I kind of just take my full shower, and then I just sit there until the clock runs out. How soft am I?
So I'm going to flip this back on you because you do that, but then what else do you do when we have these ACE events? You get into that ice bath, no goddamn question. Oh, yeah. And that's because people are watching you, number one.
That camera's out, baby. Dave Regine is in the water.
But number two, it's also a non-negotiable. So like for you, you're doing that cold shower every day, but also, that like, do I get in or do I not thing? It's not a question for you anymore. You're doing it.
Right.
Even though you don't want to or what. I don't want to get an ice bath every day. It sucks. It totally sucks. But I know the benefits are going to be much better, for me, rather than just that 30 seconds of hesitation or doubt. For you, how have you dealt with that?
So I don't want to sound like a robot here, seriously, and I'm robot voice. Well, switch to robot voice, and I mean this humbly. Whether it's a cold shower or a cold plunge or a frozen lake, I don't debate it. Like I already know what needs to be done. While I'm in there, I'm looking at Nick Menente, and he's like, "Breathe, baby," and he really guides me through it. But every time I get in, it's atrocious. It really is. But I've built myself up mentally and physically over the years to where it is light work. I can do it every day. But I think you guys do take it to, another level with the actual ice in the bath. Like, it's a beautiful thing to watch. I come up with all the excuses as to like, I got my daughter in the morning and like, oh, it's another thing I got to add on. But I do really encourage, anybody who's really just looking to challenge themselves a little bit, take your regular shower and then just turn the water to cold. Start with 10 breaths.
Yeah.
Start there, and then just over time, you can do this. It's not real savagery. And then that's the other thing, right? I have this mindset, and I'm sure it's like you're a competitor. So I look at everybody else around me and I'm like, if you're doing it, why can't I do it? Like, you're not... You know what I mean? You're not the Hulk.
Yeah.
Like, I could do this too.
Which is also like the dry January thing. Like, we started off with 30 days or whatever. Well, I started with 75 hard and then I failed it at the summit. But we started with, a small little don't drink challenge. And we're so freaking competitive that we're like, 1 month? Yeah, 12.
So this morning, I don't know if you caught it, but I had texted you back after we sent the 100 days. And I'm like, have you committed to the year? Because like secretly I wanted you to be like, nah, I'm not going to commit yet. And I already knew. He sent the lock emoji. Oh, yeah. So I already knew how that was. And speaking of Nick Menente, man, I got to shout out, obviously, Joe K, Ice and Iron, and Nick Menente, who have been Sean's best friends for, 15 years now?
Yeah, it's been a
long time. The way that these guys stepped up into leadership roles at the summit, at the ACE summit, and now these ACE events, it's been a beautiful thing. And I think it's also, created purpose, passion, which ultimately creates fulfillment, obviously, for them. But true leaders, I appreciate them. I learn from them every day. Yeah. And I'm grateful to you, man, for obviously, connecting all of us. And that's the other thing. Like, when it comes to genuine people in life, you can tell very quickly when people connect you to somebody else. Certain people want I did that. Mm-hmm. I'm the connector here. Mm-hmm. Remember who did that. That's not genuine. Sean has come into a space where he's introduced me to every single one of his best friends. I've done the same thing. And now you're building relationships. I'm building relationships. And yeah, of course, we always know where it started. But I think a lot of people miss that for some reason. It's not true collaboration.
No. And I think if you really look at, if we unpack all of the different connections that have happened since ACES started, and this is even before the summit, this is before the events. Let's talk about Jason Lacayo, and where did Jason Lacayo start from? My buddy Che was his friend from Yonkers, and I never really met Jay. I knew him like in passing or whatever over the years. We meet Jay, and it was really kind of similar timing, you and I, with Jay, and Jay introduces us to Vin. And Vin has opened up the floodgates of people to us,
Yep.
you know, and then what's happened since then? It's just there's connection after connection and people are doing business together. And that's like a beautiful piece too. I mean, Christian Palmer was a speaker, right? And who introduced us to Christian? It was Steph.
Yep.
And who has Christian now? You know, Nick Menente hired him as his coach. He's speaking at Chris Worth's new event in the end of the month.
Yep.
You know, there's all these different things that happen, and it starts with all these different people that are willing to just put, you know, it's not like you're not looking for something in return.
No reciprocity.
Yeah, no reciprocity. Like you just put that out there because you know that's a good, genuine thing for that person to know that person. You know, Jonathan Cover was one of our guests at the event.
Yep.
My brother just got his garage doors from him, you know? So like there's so much stuff that's happening. And that's, I think, the real beauty in like a community that's not looking for things in return.
Yes. Yeah. And that whole community, you know, and really just shout out to each and every one of the men that were involved, the dogs,
baby.
We had this tagline, you know, no puppies allowed, baby, because puppies piss on the porch, and we're motherfucking dogs out here. But to each and every one of those men that were involved, they know what went down at this summit. We had everybody, all walks of life. You had attorneys, mental health specialists, mental health therapists, Sean O'Connor, right? First responders, moving company owners, tow truck company owners, Whitaker Doors, physical therapists, construction workers. I mean, lawyers, doctors, every walk of life was coming together with one common goal to get better and to build with one another. And the high that we were on is something that I was still on. What was the most pivotal, impactful moment for you at the A Summit?
Oof. I think there was one point where we were in between sessions, and the guests know this, but you know everyone else doesn't know this that wasn't there. We were running on fumes all weekend. Like we were not sleeping because we were just so jacked up from all the stuff that was happening, all the beautiful change. We were crazy on coffee. You know, we were just wired all weekend, but there was one point in between sessions. I can't remember what it was, but I was by myself for like the first time in like a day and a half. And I was walking in between the main house to the lake house, and the sun just like peeked out of the clouds. And I like turned, and we did this all weekend for like when the sun would pop out, we would just stop and just go like this and just felt it.
Yes.
I did that myself and no one else was around. And I looked up and I'm just feeling the sun. And this internal feeling, I was like, I think this is the happiest I've ever felt in my life. And it was like this weird, crazy feeling that was new to me. And I sat there for like 2, maybe 3 minutes. And I just acknowledged the moment. And I was like, this is something that it's going to be changing lives, mine, others, but it's something that's going to go worldwide. It's going to go, you know, international. This is going to be much bigger than we ever could have imagined. And it was that pure joy, happiness feeling.
I'm happy I asked that. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
I think for me, it was when Sean O'Connor, we had a grueling workout outside in the snow.
Oh, yeah.
And Sean O'Connor did not have to do this. He basically, everybody finished their 10 sprints, 10 hill sprints at the end. And everybody was done. And then Sean goes, nah, baby, I got 3 more left.
I missed 3.
So Sean steps up to the line. And I looked at you guys and I'm like, my back. So I have, you know, some back issues that have been really like, I don't want to say crippling me, but really hindering my like performance. And I was really, really feeling it. And the snow, it was snowing. The shoes are all wet. I'm slipping, I'm sliding. And I said, you know what? Fuck it. I want to get involved in that. So Sean and I, with Sean, ran the final 3.
Yeah.
And as we were doing that, I had so many moments of this is my purpose. And this is really where that passion and the purpose are meeting to create that happiness that you're talking about, which is fulfillment. And it was a moment where I did not even feel my body. I didn't feel my back anymore. When I stopped, I felt my back. But in that moment of finishing those 3 sprints, man, it was something I can't describe. it was that paired with, at the end of the summit, it was just the four of us left. CV, Steph, and Sean. And we're laughing, we're having a good time. And one of the guests happens to send a voice note over. Conrad Castro.
Right before, this is right before we left.
Right before we left. And he I'm not going to get specific with it, but basically was just explaining on how he was supposed to be there that weekend, how instead of being in this negative headspace, he's leaving with a new, profound purpose in life. And it's still now true, even, the months later.
Yeah.
Because he's living, a new life. And that right there, I was like, holy shit. Like, this is the same Dave Regina who used to beat himself up mentally, still does. I still have so many negative moments. But the fact that we're sitting there impacting these lives, there's no better feeling, man. There's really no better
what
feeling.
Happened the next day, all those texts, all the messages. I mean, that was something that I've never experienced in my life. I don't know if you have. Like, I've gotten messages here and there of like, pats on the back type thing. But the level of just appreciation and just true change, like, it was real impact. And it's something that, like, I think over the years I've been to so many networking events, personal development events, and whatever, and there's always that rah-rah factor of where, like, for a couple of days you're always jacked up, usually after like a good event, you feel good, but true change comes from within. Like, that accountability, that discipline to continue on that path after that high wears off is something that you have to do yourself. And we had a guy who, I'm not going to drop his name, but he became sober at our summit. He came to the event. He thought he was going to have his pills and stuff with him. And that morning he went to go pick them up from, the pharmacy or whatever, which, that's a whole nother ball of wax. And they didn't have his script to fill, and he had to get to the summit. So he came to the summit without his script. That was day one of him becoming sober. And here we are, 3 months later almost, and he's still sober to this goddamn day from that freaking weekend. And, he came out and he talked about how he was addicted to these things, and, he's never really shared them with other guys and all that stuff. Fernando, who was Steph's right-hand man, he was amazing. Shout out to Fernando from the Sale House. He came up to me on Sunday and he was like, yo, and he's like touching his stomach and he's like, I'm down 15 pounds. And I'm like, what? And he's like, every day since the summit, I've worked out at the gym at 5 a.m. every single morning. And I'm like, damn, dude, like, this is real change.
And just to bring clarity, he said it briefly, but just so you're clear, Fernando was the chef that was basically, cooking things up, and he was helping out around the house. He wasn't even an attendee at the summit. And he's being impacted.
Yeah, everyone, man. So it's been crazy just to see everyone's accountability and discipline that they've had since then. I'm curious, CV, what was your favorite moment of the summit? Let's go. Where's he at?
The voice.
All right. My favorite part. There was a lot of moments. I'll tell you, there was a lot of moments that were special, and it's weird because when you're behind the camera, I'm focusing is trying to make sure I get the right shot, make sure the audio. So I'm not really focused so much in what's going on, but it's inevitable to just it overtakes you. You know what I mean? And one of the things that I think was my favorite moment, and I think somebody even said it throughout the event, was that sense of being part of a team again, which I haven't felt in obviously probably like over 10, 15 years since I was an athlete in college. And, and since then, you just kind of go on with your life, and it's kind of just mundane and normal, and you're just doing your things, and you find little people that you kind of have these little team moments because you work together or whatever. But that time, not only the four of us, that we were all kind of busting our behind doing whatever we were all doing separately, but just the group as in general. Like, I was part of your guys' pack and you guys heard. So wherever you guys were going, I was going. Maybe I wasn't diving into the pond and
we're getting there.
And do some of those things. But I mean, I was on the edge. I was on the edge, experiencing what you guys and all the crew was experiencing firsthand. And even when you guys would get out, I'm in that room when you guys are all shivering and kind of sharing stuff and whatever. And I'm there and I'm part of that. And even though I'm not in the moment and I'm kind of witnessing and kind of watching my own movie through the camera, it was a very special moment for me to kind of, it's memories, you know what I mean? And it was impactful and it was great. So yeah, thank you guys.
And I think what's crazy about like that, like number one, I think brotherhood is like, holy shit, we need brotherhood,
Yes,
community, all that. Like that's something that's missing from so many people's lives. But just capturing those moments too, like CV having all that footage and looking back on all that stuff. It's like I pieced together a quick clip like a couple days after with like some of the footage we had like on our own, and I watched it. I put it together, I watched it, and then you watched it separately, and we both said, we were like, dude, this makes me so emotional.
Yeah.
Like, it was nuts, you know? You just like feel like it was like that pure bliss, joy, happiness, but like to the point of where I could like cry, you know? It was like that impactful.
Yes.
Cool stuff.
Yeah, man. Speaking of impact, you know, and again, this episode is just as much for Sean and I to break down ACE and the importance of it. What are you most proud of with ACE? Because for me, I think there are two things, and I'll start with one. I think I'm most proud of the partnerships and the brands that have backed us so quickly, because that to me really shows like proof in the pudding that we're really living the things that we're talking about, because real like brands would not be jumping on board. And for example, you have Elevate Med Spa, Athletic Brewing Company, Drink Living Juice, HPLT, Verb, The Body Blueprint, Ice and Iron, Lululemon of Westchester, Barry's Boot Camp, Relentless Fitness and Nutrition, Boundless Nutrition is jumping on the next event. I'm sure I missed
10,000.
You know, 10,000. Yeah. But that is something that's I've never seen happen so quickly, and I'm extremely proud of that. For you, what do you?
Yeah, 100%. I think for us it's weird because like we're in the driver's seat and we're not able to like step back too much, and that's kind of what this is right now. Yes. And Thursday night we have a meeting with the four of us too, where we're gonna kind of just break down everything again, and you know, look at the plan moving forward and what big ass names we're gonna get at the next summit. But you know, I think it's cool to just review all that stuff. The most proud, I don't know, man. Like there's so much. It's hard for me to like pinpoint one. I think what's really cool is we started this as a movement redefining masculinity, and now it's opened up, which we kind of knew was going to happen eventually, but not this fast, of this co-ed thing. And the summit was our big boom, you know, but now we've got these monthly dinners. We have a men's personal development dinner and networking and all that, which has been sick. We've had like 2 of them so far, and there's like amazing conversations happening and different deals happening between people. But these workouts, we've got women involved, and we thought this was going to be like a year down the road, you know, and that's why we were kind of like hesitant to only go male geared, but it's what we know and it's what we're good at. We have these women involved now, and seeing them really like experience what we knew was special, and them feeling that impact and them being so vocal about it, you know, I think that's been super cool for me to see, because it's just like, oh shit, we can impact women too.
Dude, yo, when I tell you I love you, I mean it. So I said that I had 2 things. And right here it says, I'm also proud of how we've incorporated what?
Women, yeah.
Yeah, dude. So that was my second thing. So that's incredible that you're saying it. But also, and again, we have leaned on women to help now build this, right? Women were reaching out saying, listen, you don't have a summit for women? I'm like, listen, I got a bunch of failed relationships. Like, I don't know if you want to really hear about hear from me. And they're like, no, like this is what it's really about. I mean, look at even Steph Madonia, her contribution here, right?
Yeah.
We need men. Listen, men need women. And this is something that Joe Girardi spoke on at depth. He said, and it's biblical, women have infinite wisdom. Men need strong women in their lives. And that to me is something that now I feel that personally, because I'm a father of a daughter. So I want nothing more than to have a strong, courageous, loving, kind, independent woman.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm fortunate enough to be in an extremely healthy relationship as well. I know the same, obviously, for you for a long time now with Jackie, but to be at our best, we need women, whether that's in friendships, intimate relationships, partnerships, and business. So although Action Cultivates Excellence was a movement that's redefining masculinity and still is, there's a huge backbone of this is women.
Yeah, and we knew that to a certain degree because we, specifically were like, all right, who can we reach out to that's like a strong female figure to speak at the summit, which we found in Diamandia, and also with Jean.
Yes.
And Jean Gutierrez, I always pronounce her last name wrong. I was just with
Gutierrez.
I just was with her and Alan last week, actually. And, she's gotten some business drummed up from the A.C.E attendees, and she's got some great things happening. But that dynamic was something we always knew that we needed to add another layer to just like the masculinity piece and, only hearing from male figures and things like that. But I think what's sick, and you just touched on quickly, is like, again, you and I met in July of 2023. We're 8 months in, and I've been with Jackie for close to 3 years now, and you're in a new relationship with Katie. What is wild to me is we just had our first dinner as a double date, the four of us, like a month ago. We scheduled another one like 2 weeks later. And it feels like we're like the four best friends anyone could have for like 10 years, and everything's just flows, like I could sit there and talk to Katie for hours. And same thing like with you and Jackie. And like, there's just this synergy that the four of us seem to have, the last few times we've been together that I've never experienced when I've been in a relationship. And it's mind blowing because it's all brand new.
It's unbelievable. And again, I feel the same way. And we've touched on this a little bit, but I really, again, encourage people to find those relationships in your life. And it's unfortunate because Nick Menente brought this up too. Like, I have friends of mine who I will always, they'll always be my best friends. You know what I mean? Like, they'll always have that important like piece in my heart. And I mean that, I really do. But over the years, you grow apart, and you grow apart not because one person is right or wrong, but because you just go in different paths. And again, not that one path is right and one path is wrong. Careers might take you in a different way. Location might take you in a different way. I know for college, some of my closest college boys, they no longer live on the same coast. So the distance really has separated. But it's been a beautiful thing to find individuals who I'm so in alignment with and connected to where, just like you're saying, you don't need to have years under your belt. And technically, you and I met 15 years ago through your sister. Because I went to school with Caitlin. And by the way, she's absolutely killing it. The whole Degnan family is just what you guys stand for as a family is something that inspires me, and it really does encourage me. So shout out to Caitlin for sure. What was your brother's name again? he's gonna love me for that.
Oh, he's gonna kill
shout
you.
Out KD. I'm just messing with you, Kev. All right.
He's about to be your new gym buddy up there, up north.
Yeah, but no, I completely agree with what you're saying. Where do you want to grow in your life, man? And how are you taking action on it right now in 2024? And I'll start to give you a little second to think about this. But for me, I really felt like I was at my capacity, dude. Like, even when we started A.C.E, and CV knows this, like behind the scenes, sometimes I get extremely overwhelmed and I'm like, I don't have any more space. And I'm really working on trying to control my mind and slow things down. Sounds cliche. So I was like, well, how am I going to do that? And I know that I'm a man of faith, and I've been wanting to read the Bible, and I've been really wanting to dive in. Speak to Diamandia all the time, Katie all the time. These women are strong women, and they meditate. I'm like, how are you going to take me, this big meathead who has no brain capacity left, to sit there and meditate? And both of them are like, stop coming up with excuses. If this is something that you really want, you have to dive in. So now every single day I'm committed to, I don't put a page number on the Bible thing because the Bible is like really hard to read. Sometimes I read 2 pages, sometimes I read 4, sometimes I read 10, right? So I've done that every day. And now I put on a 15-minute Joe Dispenza meditation.
Joe's the best.
And there has been, again, not every day am I so locked in. Sometimes I fall asleep in the meditation. Sometimes I can't really get my mind right. But I've now decided to wake up just 15 minutes earlier, grab my AirPods. Now it's before my Joel Osteen goes Joe Dispenza. So I do that and I read the Bible, then I get back into my routine. So those are two things that like in 24, I really, really want to commit to and that I'm starting to take action on.
That's beast because like meditation, I mean, I've done it for a long time. I've gone through phases where I've been like super consistent and other phases where I'm not, but I've always enjoyed meditation because I love getting quiet and still. Like that's where I find the most growth for myself. But to quiet the monkey mind and to just chill out and be with yourself is so difficult when you're first starting. And I just know how like just freaking go you are. And it's super difficult. So, I mean, it's like kudos to you for doing it like that every day.
But I have to choose to do it first thing in the morning because of that.
Yeah.
Because if not, so I'm a firm believer, and this again is really for anybody, but I do believe that the second you wake up, you have a choice to decide whether you want to have a good day or a bad day. Mm-hmm. And it's now the thoughts that are playing in your mind. We already know we have up to 60,000 thoughts and 80% of them are negative. But if first thing in the morning, I can do something positive and begin to change the trajectory of my day, already knowing that by 9 o'clock, shit is going to hit the fan. But if I can just take this time in the morning to do this, it's been so beneficial. But I think I'm almost cheating because I'm doing it smack the second I wake up. But go ahead.
You have to cheat though. Like any different like, you know, shortcut you could do to get yourself to do the hard thing, do it, you know, like whatever it is. I mean, even with like my ice bath, there's times where I'll be out there and I'm like, dude, I don't want to go in this damn thing. And I'll like set a timer on my phone to be like, yo, you have 2 minutes to get in this bath. And it's like this countdown of like anxiety. It's like shit. It's like pressure. It sounds crazy, but I have to do it sometimes because I don't want to get in there. You know, there's so many things, man. I mean, my word for the year is lead. And it's something that I've been always felt within myself as an athlete, as a business owner. It's something that I've just felt like a purpose to lead and be a leader in my life. And I've had many different positions, if you will, that have been leadership roles. But, you know, there's been times where I haven't been full in alignment with all that. And, you know, I've had self-limiting doubts and, you know, those beliefs and everything where I've struggled to think bigger. I think my biggest hurdle over the last couple of years was, you know, challenging myself to think bigger, go harder, all that stuff. Like I don't have a problem working out every day. I don't have a problem, you know, with the ice bath, even though there's times where I'm hesitant. I'm still going to do that thing. You know, my reading, my journaling, my meditating, like I'm pretty good with all that stuff. Even though I may go through seasons of my life. The difficult thing for me was to, you know, say, you're meant to be in this category. And I firmly believe you and I are meant to be on stages with Ed Milet, with Andy Frisella, Inky Johnson, all these big name guys. I believe in my heart that we are meant to be there. So what I've been trying to do is at least once a week, sometimes twice a week, is stretch myself as far as who I'm talking to, the conversations that I'm in. I'm reaching out to Jay Shetty on his email. You're a little too pricey right now, bro. I'm going to get to that price soon. You know, we've had conversations with some big name people, you and I, you know, trying to get people for the summit and things like that. The brands that we're talking to, those conversations in those rooms that I think in the past I've always wanted to be in, but I didn't fully believe I was meant to be in, is something that now I'm saying, yo, I'm supposed to be in this room. And I'm actively seeking that out now. So that's something that I'm trying to step more into. And I think the whole ACE brand in general, we in the infant stages of the company, we knew we wanted that stuff, but we didn't fully figure out, you know, it took a little while for us to say, yeah, you know, these big names, these brands, all this stuff, like this is meant to be with us.
Huge. This episode is brought to you by Hudson Valley Teeth Whitening. Hudson Valley Teeth Whitening is an experienced teeth whitening salon where you can get up to 7 shades lighter with just a 60 or 90-minute session in a professional and relaxing setting. They offer the most superior product coupled with the highest quality of customer service available to get you instant results. Whether you have an important event to attend, such as a wedding, birthday, anniversary, interview, or you are just unhappy with the color of your teeth, this LED light technology helps whiten your teeth fast and easy. At Hudson Valley Teeth Whitening, they understand how important your smile is to you. And speaking from personal experience, you'll be guided by highly efficient staff in a relaxing environment to reach your desired shade. Let them know you're a friend of Dave's from the No Snooze podcast and connect with them at HudsonValleyTeethWhitening.com or on Instagram at HV Teeth Whitening. Now, back to the Epi. Have you ever heard of the rule of 100?
I don't know. No.
I'm sure you have once I say it, but this is something I think anybody can take, digest, and say, holy shit, like I need to be doing this. So if you just spend 18 minutes a day for 1 year, that is 100 hours. And that's where the rule of 100 comes into play. Now, if you spend that time in any discipline, it could be reading something, on auto mechanics. It can be basketball, jujitsu, practicing your public speaking, sewing, anything, any discipline. You'll be better than 95% of the world at that discipline after 1 year.
Jesus.
And it's so true because think about what you've done really in your life for 18 minutes a day, every single day, intentionally for a year. There's not many things in my life that I've really been strategic to do that. Working out would be one of them, and I damn sure am 95% better than the world.
The body.
for sure, right? Like my diet, I've spent, definitely more than 18 minutes a day, strategically eating the things that I'm going to put into my body. I'm definitely better than 95% of the world there. But what if we were really strategic about just choosing one thing that you really want to dial into for 1 year, commit to 18 minutes a day, and you'll be better than 95% of the damn world in that discipline. Is that not my own shit?
CV, I think the big science has entered the room.
But CV, even hearing that, right? How could we not do that?
It's something that, it seems so crazy, when you look at, a full year, 365 days. But when you really break it down, and this is really with any goal, if you get to those minor details of 18 minutes, you could do anything for 18
right?
minutes a day. You scroll your damn Instagram for 18 minutes a day.
Yeah,
just replace that with whatever that, hobby, that activity may be. I fully believe that there's life-changing stuff in that, doing that consistent action daily.
Mm-hmm.
I want to flip something quick on you and bring back before we forget to bring this up. You've built No Snooze, you and CV and Mike. Shouts to Mike. Throughout the last couple of years, you've now built your second company, A.C.E, Action Cultivates Excellence.
Mm-hmm.
What does the creation process look like to you? This whole thing, this is a startup that came out of thin air. Same thing with No Snooze.
Mm-hmm.
That whole creation process and building a brand, the marketing, the back end of all this stuff. What does that look like to you? Because to me, it's I'm addicted to the creation process. It's so sick to me.
Yeah. And I want to make sure I'm understanding the question. Are you asking what I did, or are you asking?
I think both. Maybe unpack, obviously in a brief synopsis of the creation process of ACE.
Okay.
But also the actual internal dialogue in your head about the creation process.
So I can look at the similarities between No Snooze and ACE, right? And the first thing I think that I need to hone in on and make sure, because this is now a huge commitment. Anything that I put my hands into, I have to truly feel it in my heart. If I don't feel it in my heart, CV knows. I get approached a lot now, and I'm like, it sounds like a really good opportunity, but it's not something that I really live, right? The No Snooze lifestyle. I don't snooze on my life. There's been so many adverse moments that I've been able to conquer and get through. And although you get smacked down, I'm getting right back up again, right? The logo represents an hourglass. You have one time through life. The first thing you see in that morning is that snooze button. So I choose to not snooze on my life because a lot of people choose to go back to sleep on their dreams and aspirations. How could that not inspire me? Right? So that was step one. The same exact thing with ACE. Action cultivates excellence. This logo is fire. The Ace of Spades is one of like the all-time power cards in the deck, right? So that's where that spade came from. But then we knew we wanted to do summits. What's a summit? The summit is the ultimate peak, the highest point of a mountain. We're all striving and achieving to get to the highest place in a mountain. These two brands are something that I'm addicted to. I'm addicted to growth. I'm addicted to getting better. And I'm addicted to doing it alongside individuals who share the same exact mindset. For me, the business side of things, I like it, but then there's a lot of things that I don't like about it. But for me, it comes down to the passion. And I get extremely creative when I'm able to cultivate, ironic I'm using that word, but cultivate that passion and now put it into something that can be like monetized as a business.
Yeah. So I want to touch on partnerships because all the businesses that I'm involved with, it has been a partnership. And there's partnerships like in business that get bad raps, and people have really bad experiences with business partners, and they have falling outs and things like that. It's a very big decision to say, yo, we're going to be business partners. Let's go into business together, as creating a brand, financially, everything, and sharing that. And you and CV have done that with Mike, and, you're doing that now with me. I think that you have to find someone that is good at what you're bad at. And there were so many times throughout the summit that I want to just highlight and give kudos to you of where you were so aware and hyper-focused of when there was going to be something that had to get captured on the camera. And you would find CV, you'd give him like a little hand signal or whatever, and you guys are just like in motion because you guys have done this so many times together that it was like, you didn't even have to say, yo, go get that. You would just give him like kind of a little like signal and he'd be like, oh shit, like that's going to be important there. And you were able to direct CV to go capture those big moments on footage that now we look back on, that I've looked back on, and I've said, damn, like even those interviews that you set up with all the attendees, that was in the middle of the summit on the fly. Yep. You were like, yo, this is something that we need because people are feeling this right now. And that energy can't be captured a week later. They're going to 100% feel passionate about this still, but that energy that is getting transferred right now, that's that human flow that we all had in that house, was only going to get captured once. And that was not on my mind. You were able to say, yo, this is super important right now. And it's something that, again, I just want to give you a shout out because
Thank you, my brother.
It's something that I wouldn't have done. And it's something that is so pivotal in moving forward for marketing purposes for the next summits, for even like at our last dinner we were able to, have that video put together. And the people that weren't at the summit were like, damn, this was some shit.
Yeah, no, thank you, brother. I absolutely received that. But also, I think a huge thing in the relationships when you're building a business is trust. And CV is able to do that because he trusts me. I'm able to bring CV into a room with business partners because I trust him. I know how he's going to move. I'm able to do the exact same thing with you, even from a financial standpoint now, right? Like, I don't even ask you questions. You report back and I don't even question it. But that's because there's a deep sense of trust there. Steph Madonia, it's the same exact thing, right? Mike and I, and we've been transparent with this, we had different visions, right? Wouldn't you agree with that, CV? Like he was at a different point in his life. He had two young children, beautiful wife and family that he needed to build this real estate empire. So we're at different points. So the alignment at times were off. It's funny you say this because I was actually thinking today, I don't know if you remember this, CV, but back in 2020, I wanted to do like events. And I felt that like No Snooze should be doing events. And Mike was like, absolutely not. Right? He put the kibosh on it. And instead of me standing up in that moment and being like, no, like I know that this is going to work, I was kind of like influenced by him saying like, no. And I was like, all right, maybe it's not the time. And it's ironic that now Action Cultivates Excellence is built off of events.
But what I will say, and just playing devil's advocate, maybe No Snooze wouldn't be where it is now if Mike said, let's do events now.
Right.
You know, and then you would have been this event company that has a podcast, and maybe you wouldn't have been as impactful and as successful in the podcast space with No Snooze if you were doing, you know, different things at that time.
Yeah.
You know?
100%.
And also, like, the team's got to be on board. So, like, you and I knew when we met, like, yo, events is it. This is what we want to do together. You know, and I think you and Mike both knew in CV, like, yo, podcast, this is going to be dope. And for X amount of years, whatever it was, 4, 5, 6 years, like, it served its purpose. And you guys impacted countless amount of lives through the podcast, you know, and then sometimes seasons end and, you know, you move on to the next thing and you're on this new venture. As you continue No Snooze, you're on this new venture with Ace, and Mike's, you know, leaning more into the real estate stuff, and you guys are going to soar in different angles.
Oh, 100%. Mike, when he signed off the episode, he was like, you know, the funny thing is when I step away from this thing is going to the moon. He literally said it. And he was like, I feel like the kid who has like ankle weights on or something. He gave this funny analogy. And it's great because, you know, we're still best friends, man. He'll always be, yo, I've known Mike since we were 15 years old, right? Like we have some of the best memories ever. But no, man, I think people really need to, you know, you need to try things and you need to fail in business. You know, I've been open on the podcast, but I don't know if you know this. I had a beard oil company as well. It was called Thor because that's what my barber calls me. And I came up with an acronym, The Honest Oil Recipe. And it was like 4 or 5 ingredients into this beard oil. I happened to get like 5 or 6 no's from like barbers. And then I was like, I quit. So that was a fail. I had a hat company as well where like, it's ironic that both of these companies, if I put them back in play right now, would absolutely boom. But the hat company was just basically like words. So one of them was like loyalty, but it was in this like nice script, and they were like dad hats when dad hats were kind of just coming up. And it's funny. So I had to like learn all of that stuff. But again, like, yeah, I wear hats, I use beard oil, but it's not like my passion. You know, whereas now, like when I'm getting involved in something, it needs to come from a place of, am I willing to do this if I won't make $1? And the truth is I was willing to lose money on the A.C.E Summit because I know the impact and the bigger picture there. So I think that the trust in relationships is huge. And then also the passion behind obviously what you're doing.
Yeah, it's I don't know. We keep touching on it, but like just alignment. It's like if you're not in alignment with what you're doing, you need to change it. And I think for us, as we're trying to live this lifestyle of Action Cultivates Excellence and just everything that the brand stands for, it's no like coincidence that, you know, we're not drinking. Right. It's just, and look, like I love having a nice beer. I love having a nice cocktail, and I 100% will again in my life. But right now through this building phase, we're just on this trajectory of like, it's not in alignment with what we're doing. So, you know, if you're not living in alignment with your visions, your goals, and where you want to be in life, and whether that be with your brand and your business, your relationship with your girl, your husband, your kids, you know, your family life, then you got to make some changes and tweaks in your life in order to get back on track.
Yep.
You know?
No, well said. And to anybody out there, obviously, who, you know, wants to get involved in ACE, I want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
What would you tell someone who's maybe hesitant to invest in themselves and attend something like an ACE summit? I'll start by saying, like, and again, this is not a plug to just us. Like, I would say get involved because the ACE summit is what I would call like an elite event. Like
that's
you
like
have
the championship.
You have to be strategic. You have to know that you're going to pay thousands of dollars and spend that money on a ticket and really invest in yourself. So you have to be at that next level of like commitment. But if you're struggling, I would say, and you know that you kind of want it a little bit, start to get involved with a group, with a networking group, right? It could be our ACE dinners. We'd love that. It could be our outdoor resilience trainings that we do with men and women. Great. But if you're not in this area, I'd encourage you to get involved in a lane like that in personal and professional development, because what you're going to feel and what you're going to see is that sense of community. There's a lot of great organizations out there. I mean, Alan and what he's doing in Connecticut, Vinny and what he's doing in Westchester as well.
Yeah, Agora,
in Agora. There's a ton of different opportunities that are out there. So we're not just saying, yeah, come to ours, but I would say, if you're hesitant, get your feet wet. You don't have to just dive all in, because that might be a little bit overwhelming. What would you say?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think what we're doing on a monthly basis is like super digestible to everyone. I think if you look at from the outside in, sometimes, and I've heard this a few times from people where it's like, you guys are like a cult. And I think a lot of really successful communities and organizations feel like that, because when you're looking from the outside and you're not involved with it, it's like there's doubt, there's, criticism, there's all that stuff. But the reason it looks like a cult from the outside is because everyone has that burning passion from the inside, and like it's that enjoyable for people. It's that impactful for people that are a part of these successful organizations, whether it be ACE or, whatever other group it might be. It's because, they're really experiencing change and impact. So, for us, those monthly events are super digestible. For others, if you're a guy, we have a monthly dinner that we host at the Sale House. It's typically like the third Tuesday of
It's usually the
month.
fourth, but this one will be
Okay.
Usually the fourth Tuesday.
Third or fourth Tuesday of the month.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really just like a couple 2-hour thing. We break out into groups. Everyone gets their chance to pitch themselves. They get the mic. They practice, getting that elevator pitch refined. And it's super uncomfortable. That's one thing that I will say is a little tough, is getting up there and doing that. But outside of that, you have a group, and it's really a support system that say, hey, what do you need? How can I help you? And if you're struggling in your business, in your personal life, or whatever it is, that's a group that you could go to, and people will be super friendly and nice and give you tangible takeaways to get better in that area. And it's so supportive. It's not something that you have to be afraid of. The workouts, we're not out there doing 14-mile things, a half marathon that I want to do. We're going to talk about on Thursday.
Oh boy.
But we're out there doing like a hard workout, but there's stuff that you're able to go out there, and Dave gives different modifications for workouts and stuff that all fitness levels can do. The cold plunge, you could come a little late if you don't want to jump in that thing, and maybe the next one you jump in it. But it's a beautiful community, and I just think that, if you're looking, if you feel like something's missing in your life, and if you feel like something's off in your life, test it out, because on the other side of that fear is usually something so beautiful.
I'm going to take you to Jackie as we close.
Hey.
In relationships. JG. She's a wonderful woman who makes you better, and I know you know that. To somebody, though, who is either starting a new relationship or hoping to find a successful relationship, give us something that you guys are intentional about in your relationship that to now be successful, obviously.
So, I mean, one thing that we have like super common is like, she's a fitness junkie too, and she kicks my ass in our workouts like 90% of the time. So we have like that common bond of like, we want to struggle together through a hard workout, and usually we will share like some breakfast after, and we kind of we're quiet together after that to start the day. But I think the other piece is really like, I've been in a lot of relationships, and this is not to knock any of my past girlfriends and whatever, but
it's okay. I'm sure they'd knock us too.
Oh, I definitely get knocked. I was a nut job. I've matured a lot since those relationships, and I would have done a lot differently. But I think what is so important to me and her is like we laugh together, dude. Like we always find like fun times, and it could just be for a moment. Like there's times like yesterday, she was on the computer, and I got to talk to you about this. We got to figure out how to get the geotag for the Beauty Babes. She's got a new business, spray tanning, teeth whitening in Armonk, the Beauty Babes. Check it out. It's opening April 21st is the grand opening, probably when this episode's coming out. But there's just so much times where like we'll have these moments, and it could be me or it could be her, where we're like pissed off or angry, this and that, and the other person will get us out of that. So yesterday she's struggling trying to figure out the geotag thing to get the location on Instagram for Beauty Babes. And she's just frustrated or whatever. And I'm like, Jack, turn that frown upside down. And she's like, you're so stupid. But it like kind of breaks like the ice, and she gets back in that moment. So find a common ground, find some things that like really are important to you. And to me, it's fitness, it's laughter, family. She's got an amazing family that like I literally just look at as my family and will be soon. But it's there's good people out there. And as you've been through relationships in your life too, and it's not to knock any of your exes either, but you're in a healthy place now. And at times it feels like there's never going to be that person that's going to fill your cup the way you need it to be filled. But if you continue to seek alignment and you live in alignment, you'll find that person eventually, or that person may find you.
I love that. Anything you want to touch on that we have not touched on here today? This was great, man. I feel like I'm in therapy, man. I've been wanting to get this stuff out and really sit down and talk to you, and I'm glad that we did it on a recorded forum versus like having the conversation prior. Right. You didn't know anything that I was gonna bring up today, and I think that's awesome because it comes from a genuine place. But I'm also not surprised that we're very similar in the stuff that we're talking about. No, I mean, nothing really. I think we covered it all. It's just like we're on a path of freaking war and destruction, baby. Like Ace is coming for that ass if you're out there. And so is No Snooze. No Snooze, dude. Like you've had an amazing lineup of guests, and it's been cool to see how the show has evolved since things have changed over. You were huge with that, to be honest, because Mike left and CV was kind of like, well, Dave, what are we gonna do? And I'm like, well, we're gonna go to the network. And you were the very first episode, and then from there you connected me to probably 10 different episodes at least that we've done since then, and we've only done 30. So every episode I constantly catch myself. I'm like, wait, who's the connection from? Shout out Sean Degnan. Shout out Sean Degnan. But it's true, man. And you did that with a such like an appreciation to do it too. Like you wanted to help and you wanted to do that. So I commend you, man, for really standing on this and helping us grow this.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. It's something I believe in. It's something I believe in you guys, both of you. Just all the quality content you put out and the meaningful conversations that I think a lot of podcasts don't have. I touched on this yesterday with Vinny Brusco, and our episode's coming out soon, which it's a great one. He's got a great show too. Awesome. But a lot of podcasts, they're very just cookie cutter, and it's like, so if you're to do this and that, X, Y, Z, and like these just cookie cutter questions that isn't authentic, and the audience feels that. Right. Like you're not having these flowing conversations the way the No Snooze it does, the way some of these other shows do. So you guys do an amazing job at that, but I think just really to wrap up, it's like join Ace. We're taking this shit to the moon, and between what we're doing on a monthly basis and these large summits that we're gonna continue to have, we're looking to impact lives, and I'm so blessed and fortunate to do it alongside you. You're one of my best friends. I appreciate you, and shout out to Mark. I love you, brother. Not just love you.
That's right.
He corrected me at the summit with that. It's something I've never been more excited to do in my life with anything.
Likewise, my brother. And, I try to tell you this all the time, and I want you to know, although we're competitive men, I genuinely love you. And the passion behind what we're building and what we're creating here, it's really unmatched. And I know everybody feels it. And I'm sure we have our haters out there. Shout out to you guys. But the reality is, I think the majority of people are so supportive of the dynamic, like you and your best friends have been best friends for years. Me and my best friends have been best friends for years. And even those best friends want us to be best friends.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And there's such there's beauty in that, man.
Yeah.
And I can't say enough, I'm in a place in my life to where I need to surround myself with an intention to be around men who are not only strong physically, but really strong mentally, because I need that myself. Mm-hmm. There's so many days that I wake up and I don't really want to, attack. Like, yeah, of course I always want to attack the day, but there's this little voice in my head that's like, you're soft today. you're soft today, and I lean on you to really, you know, push me through. And I think to myself, like, what would SD do right now? And I mean that, man.
Yeah,
And,
no,
you know, I'm
appreciate
so
it.
excited
Likewise.
to further this relationship and continue to grow this this empire
Yep.
of Action Cultivates Excellence. So, guys, we ask that you share this show. We're very grateful for you listening, whether you listen to one episode or 187. Let's go, baby. Truly, we can't grow this show without you guys. You can shop the latest merch at nosnoozeshop.com. And until next time, stop snoozing.
Get up and get after it.
Sean the Animal Degnan. Thank you guys for tuning in. That's another epi in the books. You can follow us on Instagram at No Snooze Podcast and leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, No Snooze. Shop the latest merch at nosnoozeshop.com. Come on.